Alright, this is lesson 65, Algebra 1, addition of radical expressions and weighted average. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to add together radical expressions. Radical expressions are expressions, meaning a bunch of terms that are put together without an equal sign. And radicals are square roots, like right here and right here, that we're going to add together. That's all we're doing. How do we add these together? Well, when you have a radical like this, and the number under the radical sign are the same, remember those are called radicands, and the indexes are the same. And if you remember, the index is the number that goes right here. So like if I have the fifth root of 6, this is the radicand, and this is the index. Alright, so if we don't have any number in the index position, if we just have something like this, it's assumed that there's a 2 there. Okay, we don't put it there, we just say, you just know it's a 2. Alright, so if the index and the radicand are the same, then these are considered like terms and we can add them. So all we have to do is add the numbers in front of the radical sign. 4 plus 3 is 7. We don't do anything with the radical. We just leave it there. Okay? So we have 4 square roots of 2, and we have 3 square roots of 2. So now how many square roots of 2 do we have? 4 plus 3 is 7. And that's pretty much all there is to adding radicals. Alright, so let's look at an example here. 4 square root of 2 minus 5 square root of 2 plus 12 square root of 2. So all we're doing is adding these numbers. 4 minus 5 is negative 1 plus 12 is 11. And that's what we get for our answer. Alright, if we look at the next one, next example, top of the page, it is 4 square root of 3 plus 3 square root of 5 minus 6 square root of 3. So this one has a different radicand, so we don't touch that. We can't do anything with it. So we're going to combine that and that. 4 minus 6 is negative 2. And since there's nothing to add to this, we just leave it alone. We just kind of stick it on there. So what we've done is we've taken an expression here with 3 terms and made it an expression into 2 terms. That's all we did. Alright, so let's keep going. Negative 3 square root of 2 plus 5 square root of 3 minus 2 square root of 2 plus 8 square root of 3. Alright, so these are like terms. Make sure you circle the sign. And these are like terms. So let's add the like terms in blue. Negative 3 plus negative 2 is negative 5 square root of 2. Alright, so we combine those. Positive 5, positive 8 is 13 square root of 3. Alright, so we combine the things that were common there, and that ends up being our answer. Alright, let's keep moving along here. 4 square root of 3 minus 2 square root of 2 plus 6 square root of 5. Alright, notice square root of 3, square root of 2, square root of 5. All the radicands are different, so you can't add them. You're done. We won't simplify. So those are the ones that are your favorites because you don't have to do anything. Okay, next part of this lesson is called weighted average. Now, sometimes when you take a test or you're doing something, maybe the test is worth more than the homework. So let's say that you, on your homework, you got an 80%, but on your test, you got 100%. Well, do you want those two scores averaged together to give you a 90? Or do you want more weight put on your test because it was a lot harder than your homework? Well, most of you want more weight on your test, especially if you did well on it. And instead of being just exactly equal to your homework, you want the test to be weighted more. You want it to be worth more. So let's say that, for instance, your scores were, let's say you got a 60 on your homework, 71 on a quiz, and a 91 on a test. Well, if you were to just average those using regular averages, you'd have a 74% in the class because of your lower scores on your homework and on your quiz. Even though your test was high, it didn't do that much. All right, what if we said, okay, let's be a little bit more fair here. Let's say that the homework was just one part of your grade, the quiz was worth double, and the test was worth 4 times. Oops. And then we divide that by, there's 7 numbers up there, divide it by 70, and that gives you an 81%. Isn't that seem a little bit more fair than this, that your 91% on the test helped your grade a lot, and you got a B in the course instead of the C that is showing right there? So that's called weighted grade. It's saying that in order to be fair, we're going to give you more weight on the harder tests than on the easier stuff like the homework assignments. So that's what we're doing here. Finding out how to find out the average, the weighted average. All right, so example 65.5. Jim's scores were 60, 70, 80, and 90. All right. What is the weighted average of his scores if his scores were weighted as 1, 2, 3, 4? Okay, when I say 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm saying this is worth 1, this is worth double, this is worth triple, and this is worth 4 times. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go 1 times 60 plus 2 times 70 plus 3 is 80 plus 4 times 90. And then we're going to put it over. What are we going to put it over? Well, 1, and that's worth double, that's worth triple, and that's worth 4 times. So we're going to add all those numbers together. 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 and 3 is 6. So we've got an average of 10. So I'm doing mine different than what the book is. I'm using different numbers. So then we go 60 plus 140 plus 240 plus 360 divided by 10. So we add all these up, divide by 10, and then we get our average score. Okay, so not too terrible. Well, let's do one more. I think there's just one more, and then we'll call that good. All right, so in graduate school, Smith R. was taking, each of the 3 tests were weighted at 20. Okay, so the first 3 tests were weighted at 20%. Okay, so that's 3 tests. And the final paper was weighted at 40%. Okay, so that's what we know. So his paper was at 40%. So we've got 4 grades. We have 3 test scores, and we have 1 paper. And that's kind of the way it is in college, is there's not a whole lot there that you're grading on. All right, so his scores on these 3 tests were 60, 70, and 80%. Okay, he didn't do real well on his paper. His paper, he got a 60% on. So I'm just writing down the information they got us. What were Smith's overall scores for the test? Okay, so his first test, which is right here, is part of the 20%. So we have 20%, and he got a 60% on that test. Okay? Okay, we also know that on this test that was also worth 20%. So we're going to take 20%, and he scored a 70 on that test. Okay, and then the third one was also worth 20%. Oops. See if I can move some of this now. Not very well, but I'm going to have to move that down. Okay, so we'll move that over here, and we'll move that there. Okay, so those were the 3 tests. Now, on his paper that he did right here, what was that worth? That was worth 40% of his grade. So we'll do 40%. And what did he get on his paper? He didn't do very well. He got a 60% on it. And then that is going to be over 20%, 20%, 20%, 40%. Those added up. Okay, so that's just the rule that we do. The value of each of the tests and the value of the paper. Okay, so there's my equation. Now we just have to change it all to decimals. 0.2, 0.6. Because remember, you can't add or multiply or do anything with percentages. You have to change them every time into decimals. Over 0.2 plus 0.2 plus 0.2 plus 0.4. Okay, so now we can do this. We multiply these two, so we get 0.12 plus 0.14 plus 0.16 plus 0.24. And then we add these numbers down here together, which actually adds up to 1. And we get 0.14, 0.12. So we add these up. Gosh, I'm sorry, this is morning. I'm having a hard time thinking. This is going to be 26, 36, 42, 52, 62, 66. 0.66 over 1, or just 0.66. We change it back to a percent, and it ends up being a 66%. And that's one of the ways you figure out your grades for this course. Many times students will look at their grades and they'll average them together and say, wait a minute, I should have gotten such and such a grade, and Sycamore says I got this grade. Well, the reason for that is because Sycamore may be weighting the test grade as more important than a homework grade. So you have to maybe double the test grade instead of counting it the same. So anyway, that is how you do weighted average. This is kind of tricky. So just follow my examples and give it a shot. They seem to be pretty simple except for this example that I gave right here. This one's kind of rough to get through, but anyway, with some practice I think you'll do fine. That's lesson 65.